he is 100% worth it.
He takes it to another level. Oh my God, I just fell in love with it.
Thanks so much, Jay.
Blew my mind. And it worked. I wanted to buy my thing.
Jay is, I would say, the Yoda of sales calls, man.
Just talking to Jay, he was so good at just taking what it is, seeing the opportunity and the value and the real reason we are making it.
Talk to Jay because he got it. He can definitely help you out.
Talk to Jay. You're going to get a lot. You're going to gain a lot.
I would absolutely recommend him for any position that you have.
Jay's definitely the guy.
Give him the chance, give him the opportunity. You won't regret it.
He's good at what he does, so I highly recommend him, and I would book him before he is fully booked out.
Welcome everyone back to the Sales Ninja Show podcast, the podcast that helps you to sell more, to give more, and sell without selling, and turning conversations into conversions without the ick and the pushiness. If you are a business owner struggling to grow, attract loyal customers, or lead an inspired team, this episode is your wake-up call. Today, we're joined by a business transformation expert with over 30 years of experience in marketing, sales, customer service, and leadership. He's coached entrepreneurs for over a decade, spent 7 years as a graduate marketing professor, and holds a BA in psychology and an MBA in marketing. What a rap sheet. His approach, hands-on, no fluff, and focused on real results. And he firmly believes in the mantra, differentiate or die. And today, he's here to show you how to do just that. So if you're ready to stand out, if you're ready to sell more, and you want to build a business that customers actually love, then get ready for a power-packed conversation with Zev Asch. Welcome to the Sales Ninja Show, Zev. How you doing?
I'm good. I feel like I need to do this. Yeah. I'm not gonna kick my legs because my back will go out, and this will be the shortest episode you've ever recorded.
Okay. So there's so much to uncover. There's so many things to talk about. I am super excited to have you on the show. Let's talk about pickleball. You're playing with torn meniscus. Is that correct?
Yes.
So how the heck do you even play, let alone, deal with that kind of an injury?
So I didn't know I had a torn meniscus. I was playing through pain, and then one day I decided to check it out, and the MRI showed that there's a tear, and obviously the solution is you get surgery or you live with it until you can't. And surgery in general is not the right option if you can avoid it. So I said, I'll keep playing until my knee gives out or I can't walk, and then surgery will be the option. So I play with a compression sleeve, and above that, I have a knee brace that holds the patella intact. Prior to playing, I do a lot of stretching, a lot of exercises to strengthen the muscles around my knee, and it's working out. I'm able to move around on the court, and I don't experience pain unless I do something stupid, which is what I did 3 days ago at the gym. I decided to do some weights, and ended it with squats with a 25-pound, one of these big weights you put on your bells. And I did 10, and I said, okay, one more for good luck. And when I pushed out, I felt that sharp pain in my knee, and I knew, okay, so that was stupid. So I did discover a new form of compression sleeve called Go Sleeves, which is a sleeve that combines kinesiology tape in its side. So I've been testing it for a month, and as soon as I got hurt, I ran home, I put some ice on my knee, put the sleeve on, wore it for 4 hours, went to play, came back. I don't want to sound like, oh, the pain was gone.
Yeah.
It wasn't noticeable. So yeah, that's a very long answer to I play with the torn meniscus, and until it decides that I shouldn't be playing anymore.
Wow. I just started playing pickleball last year, and because I was a tennis player, and not when I say tennis player, I enjoyed playing tennis. I wasn't like a ranked tennis player or anything, but I did play quite a bit of tennis growing up, and I enjoyed playing ping pong. And my claim to fame is I'm the champion in my church retreat for the men's retreat 2 years in a row. And then my 14-year-old dethroned me like 2 weeks ago because I've been playing with him and training with him and practicing with him, and he's learned all my tricks, and it's kind of demoralizing, but also I'm super happy for him. And that's one thing that when you help your clients win and they even get better results than you, that is a really good sign of success. Now, I know you have a podcast as well that I'm looking to get on, and you had George Andriopoulos talk about the unconventional path to entrepreneurial success, where he paid his dues, he embraced setbacks. You talk about the power of timing, talk about the power and the value of collaboration, and that the real world experience is better than any textbook. You have a lot of education behind your credentials. What are some of the things that you learned, whether it was in that talk or in your business, that can share with the rest of our audience the power of time, the value of collaboration, and the life experience that is the real thing, more than just the textbooks that we read that may be outdated?
So I would say up front, which would be disruptive, that my undergraduate in psychology was a way for me to satisfy my obsession with the human brain. To this day, I'm still obsessed with it. I was a student with no resources. I wanted to get a PhD in psychology. I couldn't afford to do it. And so I pivoted a little bit into an MBA in marketing because I felt marketing was the closest I can get to psychology, because it's all about human behavior. But I would say that I didn't learn anything in MBA. And I was very curious and satisfied my curiosity in my undergrad in psychology. But MBA for me was a way to differentiate myself, make myself more marketable. But I could tell you that for the most part, some of the classes were completely useless: operation management, all the other stuff. The things that I enjoyed were, of course, marketing and case studies. But at the end of the day, it was a way to I take it in when you try to interview for a job. Oh, I have an MBA. Everything I have learned, honestly, was from screwing up and doing things in the past 3 decades in the corporate world, and even as a business coach for 13 years. You screw up and you learn and you improve. So I'm wired for what's called in quality management circles continuous improvement, right? You're never good enough. You always it's not chasing perfection. It's chasing to improve from what you learn and what you experience. So back to your question, in terms of time, as I used to say to my MBA students, time is not a renewable resource. And so the last 5 minutes that we just spent talking to each other, if there was no value in it, it's never coming back. It's gone. And so many people in whether they're entrepreneurs and even years in the corporate world, there is a mantra that people use to this day that I dislike tremendously, and that's throw a bunch of what on the wall and see what sticks. Right? Yeah. That is the stupidest way to conduct your life or business, right? Instead, because if you do that, you're wasting tremendous amount of time waiting for something to happen, as opposed to taking the time to prepare and write a roadmap, execute the roadmap. You can test a few things, see what works, what doesn't work, you chuck, what works, you improve, and you continue. And it's still shocking how many people, including business owners that I work with, that approach that and say, yeah, well, I've always done this. We'll see what happens, right? So how do you grow your business? Well, word of mouth. And I said, well, word of mouth is great, but none of your customers wake up in the morning and the first thing they think about, oh, I need to get Jay more sales or more customers. It's a good thing to have, and it's a good thing to develop and nurture. It says word of mouth and pay attention to your customers, but that's not the way you can grow. And the two words I want to use is consistent growth and sustainable growth, So here's an example. Everybody I ever come across with that I worked with said, we want to be number one in Google. So when you search for us, we want to be one of the top 3 people that show up in a search. Well, that's SEO. SEO is complicated. SEO is not so easy. Nobody knows the algorithm. People will sell you page 1 placement. Rarely, if ever, happens. It takes a long time to get there. But here's my point. When a business owner says, I spent a fortune on trying to get to page 1, but it didn't work. And I said, I'm not surprised it didn't work, right? Put your search in and see what the top says. It shows how many results it said. So, but let me ask you a different question. Can you handle it? Can you really handle being number 1, 2, or 3 in a search result on Google for the audience that you serve or the solution you provide? Do you have the resources? Do you have enough people that can engage with a mountain of leads that are going to come flowing in? And the answer is, for the most part, the answer is no. It's just a feel-good thing. Oh, I'm ranked the number 1. Well, that's not the point. The point is, yeah, grow in a consistent, and the word was sustainable, meaning that you can handle the growth with the resources that you have without having to either go bankrupt, hiring people, and then you go through the dive cycle, or by going on page 1 and not having the resources to engage with people that are actually interested in working with you, and then they go away and they never come back, right? So the answer to time was, yeah, time is not a renewable resource, and you better off focusing. I like the sniper approach, not the what I used to call in my classes the Scarface marketing approach. Right? So people that remember Al Pacino in a brilliant Scarface, the end of the movie, he stands on that balcony and the FBI law enforcement are storming his big house, and he takes that machine gun and he sprays and he say hello to my little friends, and he keeps shooting that. To me, that's Scarface marketing. If you're going to take that approach, you're going to shoot someone. But there's so many wasted bullets in the process. So if you transfer bullets to resources and energy and wasting time, then to me, no. Take a deep breath. Nothing happens instantly, and good things happen to those who plan and execute a plan, not those to fire in all directions and hope for somebody to get killed in the process.
That's a great point there, and I love the laser focused approach versus like that, spray and pray. You had an experience as a VP of marketing sales. I'm taking you a little bit back, a couple of decades. You helped a company go from 3.5 million in annual revenue to 14.4 million in highly competitive markets. You helped restructure the national sales organization. You hired, you trained, you managed 17 outside Salesforce team members. You shortened the RFQ process response time from 3 weeks to 2 days. Talk about that, if you don't mind. Those are some outstanding highlights.
So I scripted my career, even though when I finished my MBA and I really wanted to work in consumer goods and Procter & Gamble, and I had no chance in hell because I didn't go to an Ivy League school, and that wasn't going to happen, right? Shout out to Pace University, where I went to graduate school, but it's not an Ivy League school. So at some point, being exposed to work at IBM, I knew that I would never do well in a large corporate environment because I'm straightforward. I don't believe in politics, and what you see is what you get. And having come to the country with a 6-month-old baby, I wasn't going to sit around and climb some ladder to one day make $50,000 or whatever it is. I was much more anxious about success and supporting a family. So I went to family-owned business. This is where I looked for as a career path for me, kind of like how I learned how to swim in Israel. A lifeguard took me on a board, took me out, threw me into the water, showed me how to use my hands. Yeah, showed me how to use my hand and feet.
Are you for real?
Stayed with me for a little bit, and this is on the ocean, not in the pool. And then
oh my gosh! And then what?
And then the next time, and then we slowly improved and told me how to swim properly, how to breathe properly. So for me, the career was the same thing. Put me in a small business where there are no cubicles, you don't hide, you're always exposed, you wear multiple hats. If you're good, you'll be okay. You'll move up. And for me, moving up was not titles. It was really for me to impact the company and be able to grow financially, right? If you're not good in a small company, you're going to get tossed out pretty quickly because there's no patience for people that waste their time, right? Dead wood is very costly in small business. So that was my track. So the company that you mentioned, I joined and they were under $3 million and they were a family-owned business. At that point, they were already in business for 75 years, and it was a father and son company.
Wow.
I love
Wow.
family business. I love multi-generational companies because they are incredibly intriguing and challenging to both to work for as an employee, and then later on for me to coach family-owned businesses. The dynamics are fascinating, right? So they hired me to grow the company. And it was actually funny that 6 months later, the old man called me and he said, you know, you're doing pretty good. I just looked at your resume. You have an MBA? And I said, yeah. And he said, if I knew that, I wouldn't hire you. And I said,
oh, really?
Why? I said, why, Walter? And they said, I know you're kind. Pretty soon you're going to tell me how to run my business. I don't go for that stuff. So family-owned business. I'm talking about people who they had MBAs, him and his son, short for management by walking around. All they did all day was walk around the office, walk around in circles, the warehouse. They wore out the carpet because that was the way of overseeing that everybody was working, you know?
Oh my gosh.
It's kind of crazy. I could write a comedic book about this whole experience, the initial experience. So I started to work and people were quitting left and right.
Really? Why?
Yeah. And so because they were crazy. They would find somebody who was staring into the ceiling. Why aren't you working? What are you doing? You had a paper clip on the rug. Everybody in the office was called in and said, you see this paper clip? It costs money. You're wasting my money. Don't do this again. It was an environment of fear and tension.
Oh my gosh.
But because everybody needed a job, people just put up with it. So after a couple of months when no one was staying, I asked the old man and his son for a meeting, and I said, look, you hired me to grow a business, but I can't do it because nobody's staying.
Yeah. How could you grow a business with no people?
So he said, what do you want me to do? And I said, I want you to back off. Let me hire a whole new team. I want you to not interact with any of the employees. If you have a problem with anybody, come to me. Let me train them. And let me show you there's a better way of doing things.
Mm-hmm.
And they looked at me and he said, oh, you think you know better than us? It's been 75 years. We never missed a payroll. You know, it doesn't work. You're fired. I said, okay, fine.
What? Really?
So, yeah. So it's fine. I love living on the edge like this because I feel that I have the confidence that I can get it done. And if I screw up, okay, so I'll find another job. It's not a big deal. So I hired a whole new team. We created a whole new process of working. We pay them better. We had weekly meetings. It was training and training and training and training. And I have to say that in over 10 years, the only few people that actually left us were relocated because of a spouse moving to another state. It wasn't because the company didn't perform or the atmosphere and the environment completely changed. We started to pay attention to them. We had weekly meeting with our customer service group who answered the phone. They said, tell me what people tell you. How can we improve? Our sales team, the same thing. One of the things you mentioned, we used to take 3 weeks to respond to a request for quote from one of our customers. And I was traveling a lot, by the way. So everything I learned was not by sitting in an office with a fancy title or not fancy title, rolling my eyes and coming up with ideas. I was on the road a lot, probably 30 to 40%, because for me, it's the only way you learn. So I work with our sales reps. We sat in the car for hours and hours from all around the country, went to trade shows, went to conferences, listened and talked. My greatest idea came from customers, not from me.
Wow.
And then I would come back and share it with the owners, and things started to really grow and move forward because we went from a sort of a paralyzed operation to an efficient machine that, and by the way, we were very aggressive when it came to marketing and sales. That's one thing we did really well. And so we did trade shows, we did direct mail, we did calling and customer, we had independent sales rep, we had 2 direct sales guys, East Coast, all the way down to Florida.
Wow.
So we were known, but I remember my first road trip, it was 2 weeks nonstop. I came back to the office and the old man said to me, "So what did you find?" And I said, "You want the good news or the bad news?" He said, "Well, give me the good news. The good news is there's a lot of business out there for us. So what's the bad news?" I said, "Nobody wants to do it with us." And he kind of looked at me and he said, "Why?"
Really?
I said,
Yeah.
And I said, "Because we take forever to quote. Our pricing is out of line very often. Our quality manufacturing was great. People don't feel appreciated, and there's plenty. The industry was incredibly competitive, right? It was contract manufacturing for precision medical devices. So you had big companies doing it, and you had people in literally in different corners. If there was a machine shop, they were making parts as well. So everybody was competing with us. So the key to that success of growing the business was, one, improving operations and process that was 100% focused on serving customers. From a quick turnaround on quotes. By the way, we would go to trade shows. By the time the person left our booth and we wrote what the person was interested, by the time they got back to their hotel room, they already had a proposal and information about what they asked for.
Really?
The average response rate, because I've done a lot of trade shows, the average response is when you go to a trade show, by the time they get to you, was 2 to 3 months before you get you know, when you scan your badge, you give them information.
Yeah.
Forever. We were doing this literally on a day or 2 response rate. The person got back to the hotel room. They said, "Oh my God." And why? Why would you have to do this? Well, it's a competitive universe. If you're first in with a professional, efficient response, then you get to be the first person that's quoting. You get to be the first person that engages and creates a relationship with the prospect or even existing customer, right? You create a standard that's so high that whoever's coming behind you, they have to meet it. The other piece is, because we got engaged early, we got to know the customer at a very intimate level. And so we're able to address their needs by the way we quoted and the way we service them. So if you just want to quote all day, then you're just a commodity. You're a piece of paper that showed up on somebody's desk, and then they look at the price. Cheapest price wins, the end of it. But if you're actually embedded in the operation and you understand the scope and perspective of what goes beyond just that part that I'm making, then now you're a partner. You're not just some vendor selling them something. So we hired better people. We trained them. We improved our system and process, and created a culture where people were appreciated. I remember my boss standing one day in one of our quarterly meeting after we broke sales records, and he kept saying, "It's not my company, it's yours."
Wow.
So we went back to the office, and I said to him, "You don't really believe anybody bought into that, do you, Joe?"
Yeah.
The talk is cheap, dude. It's you could say it's their company, but it's not.
Right.
He said, "What do you mean?" And I said, they need to be part of our success. You know?
Right.
You can't just make all the money and leave. Without the employees, you basically have nothing. Yes or no?
Right,
He said,
right.
yes. Okay. Then they need to be part of the success story. It can't just be all about you. Yeah, but you know, when we broke records last quarter, I bought them pizza.
Pizza?
Yeah, I'm not kidding you. So I said,
Oh my
"Do
gosh.
you want me to tell you what they say about the pizza?" So what? I said, "Take that pizza, roll it as thin as you can, and you can imagine what comes next, right?" I'm not going to do this on a live podcast. Then we go, and then so the turning point, Jay, in that company was when we started to share the wealth, and we went into a profit sharing quarterly incentive, as opposed to what so many companies do this, where they dangle the Christmas bonus in front of you all year, right?
Right.
That doesn't work.
Yeah.
It doesn't work. But if you work on a quarterly incentive program, the company does well, everybody gets a check. Now, I would say one thing for anybody that listens and care. Motivating employees is not about money. Okay? It's an important aspect of how do you get the people that work for you to feel that they own their job and they have a stake in the success of the company. The money piece is important. What's more important is that they feel fulfilled professionally and personally, feel appreciated, feel listened to. And oh, by the way, the best people to grow a company with ideas and feedback are the ones that engage with customers, the ones that do the work. That's where all the great ideas on how you could become a better company come from. So when we added the incentive portion on a quarterly basis to a better team, well-trained team, a culture and atmosphere where they felt appreciated, whereas prior to it at 5 p.m., don't stand in the front door because you're going to get hit. we went to people stayed longer because they care.
Wow.
And that's the big difference. And oh, by the way, so Jay and I, we're in a sales function. That's your primary expertise. It's not about sales. So for me, sales is the transactional piece that comes at the end of a process that was done professionally. Right.
Beautiful. So let me just take a break. So that was great. So Zev Asch says, my greatest ideas came from my customers, not from me. Want to also give a shout out to those who are listening and tuning in. Adekunle Dayark says, glad to be here. Thank you. And Wendy Jane Ellis says, amazing. So she's really vibing and appreciating all the gold nuggets that you're dropping, Zev. So keep on doing that. If you guys have any questions for Zev, please ask them in the comments below, and I'll do my best to monitor that and answer those as best as we can. So far, so many gold nuggets that I'm also learning from Zev with regards to making sure that you create an environment where your team wins and they get to profit share and they get incentivized. One of my 10-figure billion-dollar sales coaches says, always incentivize the behavior that you want to see. If you don't do that, and when that doesn't happen, it's going to be a hard motivation. And as a commercial break, we do have a Godfather offer creation webinar that's happening this Friday. It's completely free, 1 p.m. You can go to pro.gosalesninja.com/weekly-event. And this is what helped one of my clients get 154K in 10 days, which seems unbelievable. And to make it even more real, my 72-year-old client did 15K on a brand new offer that she was not able to monetize in over 42 years and had a 90% close rate on 10 of her last calls. So back to Zev. You talk about the mantra of differentiate or die. Can you share that philosophy? Because that would be very interesting for us to learn from you.
Yeah, the other mantra you didn't mention, but I'll do it anyway, was I came across them many years ago, and you kind of have to visualize a dog sled run in Alaska, right? And the mantra is, if you're not the lead dog, the view never changes, right? Which
I love it. I love it.
Which
I get it.
Which is sort of like, okay, you have to have a good sense of humor to understand it.
I appreciate that. That was so funny.
It's a competitive world, so do you want to keep staring at your competitor's butt, or do you want to be the lead dog? But the other piece, which is differentiate or die, I would say that there's one person that I imprinted on 30 years ago. I consider him my mentor, and his name is Seth Godin. And Seth Godin is an incredible individual, human being, but he's also, to me, the absolute marketing genius of our generation. And so things don't have to be complicated, Jay. I love simplicity. There's enough people that use jargon and all kinds of to make themselves look better. No, I don't care. So Seth wrote a book many, many years ago called Purple Cow. And for anybody who never read the book, they should read the book, because if you read it, it's the answers of marketing and how you get to be successful. So the premise of the book's pretty simple. If you're driving down a nice, beautiful country road and there's cows on either side, you're going to keep driving. But if all of a sudden there's a purple cow, you're going to stop. And back then there was no selfies, but you're going to stop. You're going to take a selfie with the purple cow. You're paying attention. So the premise is, in any industry, in any business that you're in, you want to be the purple cow of your industry. Because brown cows are boring. People who are not differentiated, i.e. purple, then they're just another player in the market. And what happens when you're a commodity? When you're a commodity, people don't get your value, and so they'll make a decision based on how much you charge. You can't have back to sustainable growth if all you're doing is selling on price. Now, I'm not talking about off-the-shelf bread. That's a different universe. I'm talking about mostly B2B, even B2C, including that, right? If you have an offer for a consumer, they need to stop and understand, right? What is it about you that's different and better? So here's a question, Jay, that I ask all of my prospective clients as a business coach and everybody else that I'm interviewing on a podcast. And this could be somebody who's a founder of a SaaS company, software as a service, and it could be somebody who has a $25 million high-tech company.
Yeah.
The question is pretty simple. What problem are you solving? That's it.
Yeah.
Because if you're going to start a business, you should do the research and you should identify a problem that's been going unsolved within your target audience, and that the solution that you provide is uniquely different than any other options they have. That's a good way and a good reason to start a business, right? So in order to get there, you have to answer the question, what problem are you solving? Right? So in graduate school, I was always talking about JetBlue as an example, right? So why JetBlue took off years ago and became such a popular, sought-after airline. So what problem were they solving? They didn't solve a problem of flying in airplanes. They didn't solve a problem of getting from point A to point B. The problem they solved is for most of us who get on planes, many are terrified. It's a frightening experience. It was a boring experience sitting in the seat and hoping the thing doesn't go nosediving into a mountain. And it's the experience itself is filled with tension and boredom and uncertainty, and it wasn't fun. And the seats, by the way, the seats are not comfortable. And the flight attendants are cranky because they really don't get paid a lot of money. So JetBlue comes in and says, okay, so the problem we identified is that the experience that people have while flying is so bad. Well, you kind of have to fly if you want to go places, but let's give them a different option. Let's give them something that they look forward to. From the moment they speak to a ticket agent, to the boarding the plane, to a wide seat, to TVs in the seats, which was a disruptive approach, to flight attendants that are happy doing their work. And if you ask for another bag of pretzels, they don't get cranky until you already gave you one. And the pilot comes out and talks to you. And all of a sudden, oh my God, I'm flying JetBlue. You know why? Because it's an experience that I want to repeat. Where previously it was horrible, right? So my point about differentiation is you've got to answer the question of what problem are you solving? And it's not easy to answer, by the way. Most people that ask the question can't answer it. They will tell me about the features of what they do.
Yeah.
But they don't answer the underlying problem that they're solving. So Differentiate or Die is actually a great book. It's a title. I read it, I've studied, I've used it in graduate school. And to me, it's kind of like the essence of what we just spoke about. If you're not a purple cow and differentiate, you eventually will die a slow death from a business perspective. And it doesn't necessarily mean you're going out of business. But for me, my favorite saying is, no one's in business to break even. Right?
I like that. Yeah, that's so true.
If you're an entrepreneur and you have a company, why would you run a company that at the end of the day is not making any money? Right? You want to make money. You want to have profits. You want to have equity. You want to share the profits with your employee. You want to build equity for yourself and your family. And maybe one day you're going to exit and sell the company. But if you're breaking even, then you're in a hamster wheel. Nothing happens. From my experience, the companies that's always been successful are the ones that were able to differentiate in a clear way, not complicated way. And so this is the second piece. It follows with an incredibly out-of-the-box, exceptional customer service and support of their customers. The two have to go together. You can have the greatest patented widget that ever lived, but if behind it there's an operation that just cares about transactions, doesn't care about customers, maybe short term you're going to make some money, but at the end you're dying because you didn't differentiate.
That's so true. And I want to just kind of deep dive into that idea of like, there's a concept, a product, a service, coaching package that all seems good. The marketing was so good, it sold me. And then the experience and then the back end service to try to get questions answered or try to get some, clarification was, left to the imagination. It was like lackluster. It was like very, very poor to, even terrible. And even though the thought, and that's what, even with whether it's coaching programs, mentorships, and even SaaS products that I've purchased many of, after like an annual fee that I paid because I was, I bought into the idea that seemed amazing. But like you said, the customer service and the delivery was, not exceptional. It was actually terrible. So I literally canceled my subscription even before the renewal because I didn't even want to use it because it was, something I didn't understand how to use because the support wasn't there on multiple occasions. So you said, we need to give them a different option, just like JetBlue. The flight experience is so bad. It's so, every plain Jane, like everything, pardon the pun. And excuse me for the Janes there, but that experience is not like exceptional. It's just everyone's doing the same thing. So I've never been on a JetBlue flight, but what are some experiences that you've had, whether it's with retail, whether it's with a big box store, whether it's an airline, that made you remember, man, that's going to keep me coming back as a lifetime customer?
That easy for me because I use it in all my talks. I use it in graduate school. The one company that I've never ever had bad experience with is Apple. And years ago, because I was traveling a lot all over the world, I used to travel with the first original laptop. It was called the Compact Portable 2. This is how old I am. And then,
okay.
the laptops, the PCs came out, the laptops came up, and I would travel and make presentations. And it was a Microsoft product, and everything was always crashing, and I had to restart and reboot and reload. And at some point, I said, I had enough of this. I switched to Apple.
Wow.
I've never had a bad experience with that company, whether it's walking to an Apple store, whether it's calling their tech support. Never. And this is an example where you hire people from all walks of life. I was in New York City a couple months ago at the Apple store, and I'm not kidding you. There was one of their employees was greeting. He was blind.
Wow.
They hired a blind person.
Amazing.
You look around the store, and there are people in shorts. There are people with tattoos and piercings.
Yeah.
People that would never pass the receptionist if they came for an interview in 99% of companies.
Right.
But yet everybody is welcome. Then you have the kind of training that gets everybody on the same page of what is Apple's mission and vision in terms of the product line and serving customers. And you get this no matter who you talk to and where you touch. And I got plenty of stories, but I'll tell you, years ago when a new iPhone came out, I was about to go to Europe, and I ran to the store and I was going to trade in my phone because I wanted the new one.
Yeah.
And I got there at 8:45 at the mall.
Yeah.
And he said, and everybody greets us. So Zev, what are you up to? I said, I need to trade this phone. I'm going to Europe tomorrow morning and I really want the new one.
Yeah.
And the guy looks around, he says, well, it's 8:50. It's going to take about 20 minutes to do the transaction.
Yeah.
It's 9:00. And I said, dude, I need the new phone, man. I mean, I got to have it. So he says, give me a second. He walks over, and in the corner, there's a manager. A manager came over and he said, so you really want the phone, don't you? And I said, yes, it's important to me. I said, no problem. They closed the front doors. They stayed with me till 9:30.
Are you talking about at night?
Yeah, in the evening. Yeah, 100%.
Oh my gosh. Wow.
I mean, the store closed at 9. They stayed with me. We did the transaction. They did the trading. We wiped my phone. We uploaded my stuff. It's the kind of stuff that going back to the first company we talked about. I remember I walked around the cubicles one day, my customer service group, and I saw one of the people that work there. Their bags are packed, and it's $4.50. Right, their bags are packed.
10 minutes before,
there. The computer is off, and I'm said, what are you doing? He said, well, it's almost 5 o'clock. And I said, what happens if the phone rings at 4:58? It's our next biggest customer. How are you going to answer the phone? Well, I'm going to tell him it's 5 o'clock. We have to go home. She was fired because that's not the kind of employee that you want, that is punching clocks and doesn't understand that their job and the future of the company is dependent on going above and beyond the call. So you're going to stay. If the phone rings at 4:59, you answer it. And then you stay 10-15 longer because you care, not because you have to, right? And so Apple, to me, has always been the absolute model of perfection for everything we talked about. From great products that differentiated, from exceptional customer service, from exceptional support. I've never been on a tech support call where the person didn't help me, okay? It's just incredible. So why would I not continue to buy Apple products? They're premium. Who spends $1,200 on a phone? But I do. I'm talking on an iMac. It was $2,700. I don't care. It's like, because I know that, somebody said once, what's a brand, right? And I think that's a Seth Godin definition. So a brand is not your graphics, it's not your logo, it's not your uniforms. It's the promise that you make. That's your brand. And the promise that you make to your customers, that it's on your website, but you live according to what you claim, right? And most people don't, for whatever reasons, right? But the companies that do promise something and stick to it, those are the ones that are successful. And if you want to talk about the absolute flip side of everything I said, my pet peeve, that's going out and buying a car from a car dealer. And my apologies to a few that do it right. This is an industry where it's the worst experience in the universe. They haven't learned a thing about the 21st century. They still engage in old Neanderthal sales tactics that just don't work, but they continue to do it. Some differentiate. I bought my last 4 cars on the phone. I don't want to step into a dealer.
Yeah, wow.
Not interested. I know what I want. I know what I want to pay. Do you have the car in the lot? Yes. Do you have it available? Yes. Here's what I'm willing to pay. Do you want to make a deal? Yes or no? Well, you need to come in and take it for that. No, I'm not coming in. We're not going to go to the song and dance that you're going to do, and then you're not going to give me my price, and you're going to run to the front where all your managers sit, and you're going to torture me for 3 hours until I break down and say, okay, fine, I'm going to buy the car.
Right.
So we have the power as consumers today.
Yeah.
When it comes to sales, you and I know this really well. The power shifted with the internet. It's now buyer's market. It's not a sales market. So if you're smart, then you recognize that this is the new universe where customers, I'm not saying they're necessarily smarter, but they're more educated about their options. So they have to say, okay, so why do dealers continue to do this stupidity? Well, because there's enough people to buy cars that way. But it's not going to last forever. And if you look around, there's Carvana, there's Auto Trader, there's all kinds of companies that eliminated this whole process and just do exactly what we just said.
Okay, while you were talking, I purchased Purple Cow, so I'm going to get the part of that new edition by Seth Godin. So shout out to Seth Godin for the Purple Cow. Thank you, Zev, for that recommendation. When you talk about those car sales, actually, and I want to land this plane because I want to respect your time, and we'll probably need to do a part 2 because there's so much in here that we need to unpack. The pet peeve was a car dealership. The ultimate brand and epitome of perfection was Apple. I am also a convert from Microsoft / PC and even Samsung / Android to all Apple products because of so many things, the synchronization, the integration, the seamlessness, like just beautiful ecosystem. So when we talk about the pet peeve of the car dealership, and you said last 4 cars that you purchased were on the phone, because I'm trying to think, even as a sales coach and expert, like, the song and dance is like typically you go to the dealership and they try to wear you down, and then they try to go to the manager, and then they go back and forth, and then they try to just maintain their commission percentages and their margins. Are you going in there knowing the margins, the percentages, or you just have a price that says like, here's a market value, the price, MSRP, whatever, and here's what I'm willing to pay? do you do a lot of research to know what their margins are and say, I know you can take this amount, but I'm going to give you this amount?
Yeah, so you want to make decisions from an educated perspective, right?
Right,
I'm
right.
not going to just shoot my mouth and say, okay,
Yeah.
it's a Mercedes SUV and it's $70,000 car. I'm willing to pay $200 a month, right?
Yeah.
That's not it, right?
Right,
So
right,
yeah,
right.
I do a little bit of research on
Yeah.
what they buy the car, but you know that
Yeah.
there's also end of the month bonuses that are coded into the sticker that you can figure it out.
Right, right.
But for me, and I'm fair, by the way, right? It's about fairness. It's not about
Yeah,
trying
yeah.
to outsell them.
Yeah,
I'm
yeah.
fair. And I said, listen, I did my research. I called different dealership.
Yeah.
I know what I'm willing to pay and what's a fair price. And that's it. Do you want to work with me? Yes, no. Okay. There's plenty of deals around. Drive a couple miles in each direction. There's plenty of people. I don't have to do that. I just do this on the phone and I give them the speech that, listen, this is going to be either the quickest sale you ever made or the no sale you ever made. And here's the thing, right? I'm not going to waste my time. Yes or no. And you'll be surprised. They're buying into this these days. You know, I was able to do this because do you want to sell or not? You have a customer that's already talking to you and you're the sales expert. If somebody is already talking to you, why would you not convert them and make them a customer?
Right.
Because
Amen, brother.
the upside for that car sales to the car I'm buying from you as a dealer is that I'm going to tell my friends what a great dealership you are, and you're going to get referrals.
Yeah.
Right?
There you go. Now you're talking.
It's simple. It's not
Right.
complicated. And then but people say, no, I'm not going to give you. Okay, fine. Then sit there with your broken wooden desk at the dealership and hope that somebody walks in who's just going to buy whatever you sell. Okay.
Because you can literally open a door of networks that will literally transform their lives if they treat you well.
Well, 100%. I mean, and it's easy. It's not complicated. All you have to do is serve them and listen, and come up with a win-win solution. And then an existing customer, and that's why I'll be the last thing I say, Jake, because I know we're running out of time. When I work with business owners, my first question to them is, what's the size of your email list? And it could be anything, a couple thousand to more. And I said, when's the last time you reached out to your customers? What do you mean? You mean emails? Oh, we send them emails every 2 weeks. I said, no, I'm not talking about the spammy emails. I'm talking about when is the last time that somebody in your company actually picked up the phone and called Jay and say, Jay, I noticed you've been a customer for the last 5 years. I just wanted to tell you personally, thank you so much for being a customer. Okay? Oh, by the way, is there anything else I can do for you? Right? That's so much better than a spammy email to try to sell you something. Now, does that require resources? Yes, you have to have people that are going to pick up the phone and call. Right? So I'm going to get voicemail. Why should I do this? Leave them a voicemail with your own voice. I have a customer who is a home improvement company, 104 years in business, 4th generation. They do this, Jay, and they're still kicking butt.
Really? Eh?
Incredible competition, right? Incredible competition. Everybody that can do roofing, siding, doors, windows, there are a dime a dozen in every town. But this is their style. And 50% of the business is referrals because they never walk away from a customer. They never turn back on a customer. Somebody bought a siding from them 20 years ago and the piece came off. The owner goes over to see what it is and fix it.
Wow. Come on.
Right? So, you know what? You've got to go out of your way to show people that you care, because the upside is so simple, right?
Amazing.
Everybody remembers when you did something good for them, right? And they'll tell their friends when they got screwed. Don't ever do business with them. And today, it's incredibly dangerous between Yelp and Nextdoor and Facebook, all the social medias. It's so easy to just blast someone who does not provide service. And are you going to go out of business because of it? Not necessarily, but you're giving up customers by not doing it the right way.
Amazing. So that brings us to a close to the Sales Ninja Show podcast, everyone. One of my favorite quotes of many from Zev is, in dog sledding, if you're not the lead dog, your view never changes.
And that's true in business too, right? If you're not the leading company.
Yeah, I love that.
Okay.
So comment podcast if you are a multi 6 or 7 figure entrepreneur and want to share your sales tips and hacks. Zev, we got to get you another show because there's so much more that I think you can uncover with the customer differentiating side of it that many people are getting wrong. Also want to give you guys a free ebook. So please go to email Zev. Let me just see here at zevasch.com to get your free ebook with websites that actually engage and convert. And last but not least, I want to invite you guys once again to the Godfather Offer Creation webinar this Friday at 1 p.m. EST. Register at the link below. Any last words in the last 30 seconds or so for people who are maybe not given the ultimate commitment in terms of the service and the ability to go over and beyond?
Yeah, two quick things. One, social media is powerful, but it's not how many things you post every day. It's not the frequency, it's the quality of the information you put on there. It needs to be educational and empowering to your customer and the audience. It's not about you. And the website and the ebook that I wrote years ago that very effective. Your website is your business DNA. That's the first place everybody goes to. If people are walking away from your website, you're leaving money on the table, literally. And you bring me 10 websites and I would show you 8 of them are probably failing in their ability to properly engage with a visitor. And it's a quick thing, right? It's a 3 to 10 second. You didn't engage, they're gone. They're not coming back. So website is key. It's not a bulletin board. It's not a digital brochure. It needs to be something that I call it, you had me at hello. If a stranger shows up on your website and there's something there that connect with them because you understand them and you did the work, they will stick around and then you can engage them later on.
Amazing. Okay, well, there you guys have it. Zev, we got to get you another part 2 because this was incredible. And I think we need to hear more about what you're saying and what you are teaching. So thank you so much for your time, Zev. And thank you guys for tuning into the Sales Ninja Show, where we help you to sell more, to give more. Until next time, again, Zev, thank you so much for your time. God bless.
Thank you very much.
Massive.